Beneath the seemingly peaceful green fields of County Galway, a profound and disturbing truth lay buried for decades. It's a secret that Ireland, a country known for its warmth and charm, has struggled to confront. For years, local whispers and fragmented memories hinted at a darkness lurking just below the surface in the small town of Tuam. Now, as the Irish summer of 2025 unfolds, that darkness is being methodically and honestly, painfully brought into the light. The quiet hum of everyday life has been replaced by the solemn sounds of heavy machinery and the careful scrapes of archaeological tools, each one a step closer to uncovering a tragedy of almost unimaginable scale. The air itself feels heavy with the weight of history. On this patch of ground where a housing estate now stands, a major forensic excavation began on July 14th, a date that will forever be etched in the nation's memory. This is not a search for ancient relics or a forgotten king. It is a meticulous, heart-wrenching quest for the remains of nearly 800 infants and young children. These were the forgotten babies of Tuam, the lost souls of the Bon Secours mother and baby home. Their stories were silenced, their deaths unrecorded, and their final resting place was a place of utter indignity, a decommissioned sewage system. What is happening here is more than just an archaeological dig. It is an act of national reckoning. A team of international experts, forensic archaeologists, DNA specialists, and crime scene investigators from across the globe has assembled with a singular, solemn purpose. They are here to exhume, to identify, and to finally grant these children the dignity and death that they were so cruelly denied in their short, tragic lives. The work is slow, painstaking, and emotionally draining. Every fragment of bone, every piece of fabric tells a part of a story that for too long went untold, a story of neglect and sorrow that stains the pages of Ireland's recent past. The discovery itself wasn't made by the state or the church, but by the relentless determination of one local woman. Amateur historian Catherine Corless, driven by childhood memories of the home babies, began a simple quest to find out where they were all buried. Her research into death certificates revealed a horrifying discrepancy. 796 children had died at the home between 1925 and 1961, yet there were no burial records to account for them. Her persistence forced a preliminary investigation, which confirmed the presence of significant quantities of human remains in underground chambers, finally validating the whispers and exposing the horrific truth of the unmarked grave. The Bon Secours mother and baby home was one of many such institutions that dotted the Irish landscape throughout the 20th century. Run by orders of Catholic nuns, they were presented as sanctuaries, places where fallen women, unmarried mothers, could go to have their children away from the judgmental eyes of a deeply conservative religious society. These women were often ostracized by their own families, cast out for bringing shame upon them. The homes were supposed to offer refuge, a place for penance and a fresh start. But the reality for the thousands of women and children who passed through their doors was far from sanctuary. It was a life of punishment, hard labor, and profound neglect. Inside the walls of the Tuam home, life was bleak and unforgiving. The women were treated not as vulnerable mothers, but as sinners who had to atone. They worked long hours in laundries or kitchens, often in silence, their identities stripped away. Their children born into this world of shame were often considered secondary. A 1946 inspection report of the Tuam facility paints a chilling picture, describing the children as emaciated, fragile, and miserable. This wasn't a place of care and compassion. It was a cold, institutional system where the high mortality rate was a testament to the harsh conditions that prevailed within its austere walls. The sheer number of deaths is staggering. Across Ireland, an estimated 9,000 children died in 18 similar institutions. In Tuam alone, death certificates listed causes like measles, convulsions, tuberculosis, and gastroenteritis. Illnesses that, while serious, were often survivable with proper medical care, nutrition, and hygiene. The high infant mortality rate points to systemic neglect, overcrowding, and malnutrition. These were not just statistics on a dusty ledger, they were babies who starved, who shivered in the cold, who died from preventable diseases without the comfort of a loving mother's arms, their short lives ending in pain and loneliness. For the children who survived infancy, their fate was often one of separation. Many were sent for adoption, sometimes illegally, to families in Ireland, the UK, and even the United States. Mothers were often coerced into signing adoption papers, told it was the best thing for their child, left with no real choice in the matter. They were forced to leave the home empty-handed and broken-hearted, sworn to secrecy about the child they had borne. For decades, these women carried their silent grief, while their children grew up unaware of their true origins, another layer of the tragedy woven by these cruel institutions. The excavation is not just about bones and soil, it is about people, about families torn apart by a cruel system and a society that looked the other way. For survivors and their relatives, this dig represents a painful but necessary step towards acknowledgement. Anna Corrigan believes two of her brothers, John and William, are buried somewhere in this unmarked ground. Her mother was an inmate at the home. Anna's words echo the feelings of so many others affected by this tragedy. They got no dignity in life and they got no dignity in death, so hopefully their voices are heard. For her, this is a deeply personal quest for family, for truth, and for a final, dignified resting place for her lost siblings. The stories that have emerged are utterly heartbreaking, exposing the raw human cost of the institution's ideology. Annette McKay has shared the story of her mother, Maggie O'Connor, who was sent to the Tuam home at just 17 after being raped. Her baby daughter, Mary Margaret, died there at 6 months old in 1943. The nuns' response was devoid of compassion, a reflection of the callousness of the era. They simply told her, "The child of your sin is dead," a cruel pronouncement that left a wound that never healed. Annette is now fighting for Mary Margaret, for the grandmother she never knew, and for the recognition of their suffering. These personal testimonies are the driving force behind the campaign for justice. Without the brave individuals who came forward to share their pain, the truth might have remained buried forever. It was Catherine Corliss, the historian who broke the story, who channeled the collective grief of the community. She spoke of her motivation, of memories of the pale, undernourished children from the home, and of her simple, powerful plea on behalf of the dead. Take the babies out of this sewage system and give them the decent Christian burial that they were denied. Her work gave a voice to the voiceless and ignited a movement that the state could no longer ignore. The team on the ground is acutely aware of the human stories behind their scientific work. They face immense technical challenges, the fragility of infant remains, the difficulty of extracting viable DNA after so many decades, and the commingling of the bodies. Yet their mission is fueled by a profound sense of responsibility to these families. Every successful DNA match, every piece of information that can be gleaned about a child's final moments is a small victory against the silence and secrecy that shrouded this place for so long. It is a promise to the living that their lost loved ones will not be forgotten. The revelations from Tuam sent shockwaves through Ireland and the world, forcing a national confrontation with a dark chapter of its past. The Irish government, faced with undeniable evidence of the horrors, launched a state-backed inquiry. The resulting 2021 report was a damning indictment of the entire mother and baby home system, confirming the deaths of 9,000 children in these institutions. In its wake, the Taoiseach, or Irish Prime Minister, issued a formal state apology, acknowledging the profound generational wrong visited upon Irish mothers and their children. The Sisters of Bon Secours, who ran the Tuam home, also offered an apology for their role in the suffering. While apologies are a crucial first step, for many survivors and families, words are not enough. They demand accountability and tangible actions. The establishment of the Office of the Director of Authorized Intervention, Tuam, Odaait, in 2023 was a direct response to these demands. This independent state body is now leading the complex and sensitive excavation, a project expected to last for 2 years. Its mandate is clear: to recover the remains with dignity, to use forensic science to identify them where possible, and to ensure they are finally given a respectful and proper burial. It is a slow and arduous process, but it represents a concrete commitment to righting a historic wrong. The excavation at Tuam is a landmark moment, but it is also just one piece of a much larger puzzle. It has shone a light on the broader culture of institutional abuse that once pervaded Ireland, a culture enabled by the power of the Church and the complicity of the state. The fight for justice continues for survivors of industrial schools, forced adoptions, and other institutions where the most vulnerable were systematically failed. The process of healing for an entire nation is long and complex, requiring not just excavations and reports, but a continued commitment to listening to survivors and ensuring such atrocities can never happen again. As the team in Tuam carefully sifts through the earth, they are doing more than uncovering human remains. They are recovering a piece of Ireland's soul. There is a quiet hope rising from this soil, a hope that truth can lead to justice, and that justice can lead to healing. By facing the darkest parts of our history, by honoring the memory of the 796 children who lay forgotten for so long, we give them a voice. We acknowledge their existence, we remember them, and in remembering we take the most important step of all, ensuring that the silence that allowed this tragedy to happen is broken forever.